Life, liberty with a musky beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous, here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. Life, liberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess. His way's the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof. Solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folks. Hates the government's side hoax. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life, liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, wears the crown. Buys his goods from local folks. Hates the government's like hoax. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life, liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, wears the crown. Life, liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, wears the crown. Wears the crown. Life, liberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Life, liberty with a musky beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous, here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. Life, liberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess. His way's the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof. Solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folks. Hates the government's side hoax. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life, liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, wears the crown. Buys his goods from local folks. Hates the government's like hoax. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God is kingdom, where's the crown? Life liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God is kingdom, where's the crown? Where's the crown? Life liberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Life liberty with a musky beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. Life liberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess. His way's the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof. Solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folk. Hates the government's like pokes. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. God his grace, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? Buys his goods from local folks. Hates the government's like pokes. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. God his grace, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? Life liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? Where's the crown? Life liberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Life liberty with a musky beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. Life liberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess. His way's the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof. Solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folk. Hates the government's like pokes. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. God his grace, his peace of mind. voice is loud, the blind lead the blind. Life, liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, wears the crown.
Welcome to the Life Liberty Show. Today, we are going to be going over LA riots that are happening. We're going to get into legalities, what the president can, what the everything that's going on with the governor, and what the legalities are with Marines going down, National Guard, where they all sit, and the possibility of more riots happening in the country. So again, we have my lovely wife, Miss Life Liberty. We have Dr. Kevin Cameron and the homeless Marine that doesn't quite look homeless today. So here we go. They're all in here with us. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Wonderful. We're very glad to see that the homeless veteran now has a job and a new shirt.
Yeah, it's weird. He's homeless. He's got a shirt sitting in a backyard with a freaking four-wheeler. He went from homeless to freaking successful overnight.
We made a lot of progress.
The day is still young. I could lose it all before dark.
Yeah, we made a lot of progress with him over the last week.
Yeah, we definitely did. All right, so guys, let's get right into it. We've got the riots going on in LA, and there's so many people that are saying what the president is doing with sending the Marines in to backfill the National Guard, that he's going outside of his purview. And then there's, as Kevin was talking about it, he was saying that now they've created a whole website and a movement. What is it? No Kings?
It's No Kings. Yeah, I'm not going to give the website because I'm not going to give power to those assholes.
Sure.
But yeah, the idea behind No Kings, I guess, is that the president is not a king. Well, no shit. Congratulations. I'm glad you read a history book. But now they're trying to start riots everywhere, or I'm sorry, protests that so happen to end up being riots, and they're all over the place. I mean, they're all over the country. They're trying to call it a National Day of Defiance on June 14th.
Well, we'll see how it works out. What was it? I believe it was COVID. Was it COVID? No, it was BLM. We had some protesters show up to a town down the road from us, and it was quite literally the protesters on one side of the road and locals on the other, and it lasted about 5 minutes.
Love it.
The police were in the middle, and they said, "Get the fuck out of my town."
Up in Placerville, it was a little podunk country city. We have this big main street, and when BLM threatened to come down there, every hillbilly with a gun literally got on top of all the businesses and just waited. It looked like a bad thing out of some 80s movie.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened here, right?
Yeah,
they didn't get on the buildings, but they were in the streets, and they were like, "Get the fuck out of my town." It was
like the Three Amigos movie, but the 21st century.
What was that with? Oh God, it had Penelope Cruz and Antonio Banderas. What was the name of that movie where he had the gun in the guitar case?
The Way of the Gun. That wasn't The Way of the Gun. Bandidos or something like that.
Bandidos, I think that's what it was. Where?
Oh no, it was the Hispanic guys that play the guitar. What are they called? The mariachi.
Mariachi.
That was what it is. The mariachi.
But yeah, they were like bank robbers at the end of it. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of what it was, right?
But these ass clowns have over 101 protests scheduled for this coming weekend.
That's crazy. So we've talked about this, right? You say they've got these protests scheduled. So we've addressed the ability for a revolution, and a revolution is never going to happen because right? Because we we have to feed our families, and these
Right.
people are. So I seen a friend of mine on his Telegram page posted that on Facebook Marketplace they have a listing for the strongest badass motherfuckers in town,
Hmm.
and like you just got to be the badasses. And we're paying $6,500 to $15,000 a week, right? So who is this? Who's funding these? So these people going to these riots or protests, they're getting paid, so it's not like us where we'd have to go to work and feed our family. These guys are still getting paid. So it's just like the revolution that we had. France funded us. These people are being funded.
Well, the some of the numbers I saw, like on Fox Business, was saying that as of right now, they're estimating the cost of these so-called protests and riots down in LA. It's gonna They've done over 2 billion in damages. I mean, I think that we were talking about government aid before, right? And I I live in California, and I'm all for it if the governor isn't going to do his job and look out and support law enforcement and keeping the normal citizen safe, then we should lose federal funding, and anyone who's involved in the riots should lose state and federal aid. I don't care if it's school loans or food stamps. I mean, isn't a rioting now terrorism, domestic terrorism?
Oh yeah, because well, I mean, the definition of a terrorist is committing an act that is to fear a populace into doing whatever you want them to do.
I mean, I'll go one step further. I think that the people involved in the protests or riots, whatever we're calling them now, um, I think they ought to have to repay whatever it costs to rebuild those cities. Why, as a taxpayer, should we have to pay in to rebuild the cities that these idiots go and destroy?
I mean, if they called January 6th a domestic terrorist event, I don't see how this crap's any different.
Well, I mean, we've had it, right? Ferguson, they've been down in Louisiana. But what was y'all's big one? Like we had our big Ferguson one where they quite literally burned the city down.
Hands up, don't shoot.
That was a great one. That was one of my favorites. That kicked off a lot of this, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Yeah,
all a lie. There was no hands up, don't shoot. That was a complete and utter lie.
Yep.
right.
But you know what? They got what they wanted. They wanted the attention. They got the attention. And now, in everything, they bleed it over to the same way because they're going to get the attention from the media they want. They're going to get everybody in an uproar. And that's the chaos they want to see.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, coming from doing military law enforcement stuff, which I understand it's not real law enforcement work, but these guys are just they're- these these cops and ICE guys are just doing their jobs. It's not like they really have a choice to transport someone or whatever it is. They're following the orders of the people they have above them, just like the military. And now these ICE agents are getting doxxed. Their families are getting terrorized. Uh, they're putting their information out in the world, encouraging people to harass them and stalk them and try to disrupt their family's lifestyle.
Well, let's get into that. Who is doing it?
Who's doing what? Who's orchestrating it?
Who's doing the doxing? Well, no, we don't have to go that far. We'll get there. Who is doing the doxing? Who are the ones that are out there trying to stop the ICE from doing their jobs? Who?
So that's part of the big thing with doxing, right? Doxing is just online groupies who want to be part of the club,
Would be
and
anonymous.
Okay.
it can be anonymous, it can be whatever, and they go online, and because they have this strong belief that they're supporting the movement, they will get on there of their own free will and just start shitting on people, and it's crazy. They don't even
Right.
have
And
to
why
have
do they have
part
these
of
feelings? Why do they feel this way? Why do they feel so anti-American and we're on stolen land? Where did all that come from?
entitlement.
The Indians, Native Americans.
Entitlement. This is an entitled generation now. Everyone feels that they're owed something.
Kristen's over there doing sign
I
language
kind of
to his
feel
girlfriend.
like I kind of feel like if we pulled all state and federal funding from everybody in the areas of where the protests and riots were going on, you would see them shut up and quit what they were doing really quick, because the majority of them are living on some sort of assistance. And if you took that assistance from them and they say, okay, guess what? You want to make this ruckus? So all these illegals that are here, we're going to give your benefit that you're getting every month to them. How fast do you think this stuff would shut down?
I think it'd make it worse.
No, well, I think it would too, because then you'd have the locals going after the protesters and the rioters, because a lot of those guys and gals are being flown in or bussed in. I mean, I was watching a video the other day where this one of the Crip gang leaders stopped a protest, saying, "Nope, get the hell out! You're not doing this shit here. Go take it a few blocks away," just to protect his own neighborhood. Yeah, there are locals that are getting involved in this shit, but these whack jobs are traveling from all over the place just to get 30 seconds of fame, and not even that.
Do you know what I see? I see a stage being set, almost as if it was a stage. You're in LA, you're in front of the ICE building or behind the ICE building. I noticed this too. The protesters, there's never really a real good shot of them. I bet you there's probably less than maybe 60 people that are from out of town, antagonizers, paid antagonizers that are there to try and stir up trouble. And when you got all these cameramen and all these independent journalists walking around, they make it look like it's a lot more than it actually is. Yes,
So
they are doing damage. Yes, they are fighting the cops, but they're putting on more of a show. And I think
absolutely, there's a theory in psychology that's mob mentality, basically, that you can get one person out there who's loud and boisterous, and if your ideas are not defined yet, but they somewhat closely align, you'll jump on their bandwagon. And I think we were talking about that the other day. How much of this is propaganda versus reality, right? How much of this are actual peaceful protests, legal protests, and then we're only seeing the few assholes that are actually doing the
destroying, looting.
Yeah, the crap.
Well, if you get 60 people, just like you said, if you get 60 out of towners in black masks, frozen water bottles and bricks, it wouldn't take long for the bad locals to join in with the fun, and then next thing you know, you got a full blown riot.
Oh, exactly.
Well, so if you're saying if the locals join in, it'll then be a riot.
It's a riot before, but you got them antagonizing it.
Then it would be civil unrest at that point.
Well, it's kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
He was getting at is that a protest is a protest when it's done right, but then when the assholes come in and stir shit up, then it becomes that riot, and we have the civil unrest, and then we have all the other horse shit.
Which is what it's designed to do. It's designed to be masqueraded as a protest, legally done with permits pulled, that is pushed over the edge by others joining in for the antagonizers that are coming in from out of town. That's the way I see it.
And
so who is funding this? Who do we believe is funding this?
NGOs of some sort.
You know what? I don't even really think it matters, because there's so many of those clowns out there that they're going to get funding from one place or another, even if it falls off the back of a truck. I think in order to fix crap like this, we have to change the perception of ethics.
Well, I mean, she's right. Everybody wants to jump to George Soros. Everybody even say, "Oh, it's George Soros." But I haven't done the research to look into the NGOs that he's funding, right? Like there's people that do that. They'll dig in this NGO to that NGO and this NGO doing that. But the amount of work that takes, I'm not willing to put it. Just not. I know that somebody's funding it. I don't really care who. And it just needs to not happen.
Well, looking at doing a cursory search online on the Google,
On the
there's
Google.
concerns on the Google. There's concerns that there's this funding is being linked to China and outside agencies as well. But we all know, like anything else, we're not gonna really see what the truth is ever. But
Can,
anything
can you
clear
guys
until
look
this is
up?
long over.
I just got a message popped up and went away too quick for me to read it, but apparently a judge has ruled on Trump calling in the National Guard. And from what I quickly read, it says he illegally called in the National Guard.
What judge is this? Can you tell his affiliation and what his
His
It
leanings
didn't
legal?
tell me, it just said a judge and it went quick. I was trying to catch it all.
And how many judges will be involved in the decision that Trump made? You know what I mean? We hear it all the time. A judge has in New Mexico has stopped an order that, and they never stays long. It's just to prolong the inevitable. What's going to actually happen?
So
is
the
this just
current thing in
another?
the current thing in the news from even Politico says that a federal judge in San Francisco is weighing the legality of the president's deployment of the National Guard. It doesn't say anything about um, a thing just yet, but they're
So
Have you guys
expecting
ever
to
been in the
block.
Guard?
No, I was in the real army.
I did a year and 7 months with the Louisiana National Guard. I know. I hate it. I did. I got bored. Anyway, there's two types you can go. You can be on state papers or you can be on federal papers. Federal papers pay more, pay better. State papers don't pay that well, but state is what you're usually on. It's 1 weekend a month, weeks a year. We call it summer camp. We go down to Fort Polk and do our thing. I don't understand how they can say that it's illegal for the president to take the National Guard of a state and put them on federal papers. And we all know
And
the United States Marines are the president's own, right? We know why
Yes.
that is.
Well,
You want to
why-
explain that to us, Matt?
a couple minutes ago, the Los Angeles Channel 4 is reporting, or 18 minutes ago, judge temporarily blocks Trump's administration from activating National Guard troops in LA.
So why wouldn't the people of the fucking community be standing up against these fucking judges saying you're not allowing the government, right? Listen, I'm as much against any kind of government involvement as the fucking best of us. But in this scenario, these guys are going in to help the neighborhoods, and the government is pushing against the other government, saying you can't help these people.
Well, if the governor is not doing his job to enact the National Guard to help the citizens of his state, where's there a line drawn where the people of the state can get help? Because if the governor's not doing his job, somebody has to help protect these people.
The
I think
Insurrection Act is where that comes in, right? If the governor
I
isn't
think
doing their job to help the fucking citizens, then or they lack the ability, right? Then the president can enact the Insurrection Act and can send federal troops, i.e., 700 Marines from 29 stumps to fucking L.A.
Let me say this, and I'm going to be very bold when I say it, and y'all can get angry
Yes.
and people can talk whatever.
I'll
I
get
think the
angry.
people that are in that neighborhood, in that area, want this to happen. They're angry. They're watching CNN. They're watching Wolf Blitz,
what did you fire him?
tyrant in the office.
He said,
Okay,
"Did you
all we caught
fire
was
him?"
the end of that office.
You cut out for a second. You said
It's
that you
like
want
you
these
got a
people to
phone
have
call.
them.
Who, me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said something about they want this
Yeah,
to happen.
right. So I believe they want this to happen. I believe they're cheering it on. Most of them, not the business owners, not the small business owners, the big corporate businesses. They're going to write it off in insurance anyway, so they're not going to step in and try to stop it because they want to sell parts at an AutoZone in Minot, North Dakota. They don't want to make people mad there, so they're going to allow the one in the LA neighborhood to get destroyed. They won't say a word.
I think it's simpler
I
than
believe
that.
that a lot of the people in that neighborhood think that there is a tyrant in the office, and you can't tell them any different. They're listening to Wolf Blitzer. They're listening to CNN. They
So
believe the propaganda that they're hearing.
I agree with you in that part, but I think it's even simpler than that. We've lost so much respect and faith in law enforcement, right? No one in those neighborhoods or any of those neighborhoods really give a shit or think that the cops are going to protect them. So what the hell do they care? They're just trying to hunker down and to protect their own. Most people, eh, as wrong as it sounds, most people are sheep. I mean, we teach our kids don't fight in school, don't throw the first punch, right? Be pacifists. So most people are want everything handed to them and they're afraid to stand up for themselves. And
That's not true, actually. The people that are that are don't have the faith in the cops. They have no faith in cops. Are the same people that are getting pulled over on a random traffic stop who start screaming and yelling and saying, "Why'd you pull me over? I'm not rolling down my window. You can't have my license. Who do you think you are?" That's
that's
the people
one
that are
that
afraid of the cops. That's what I see
that's so
mostly.
that's so few and far between. But most people these days have no belief that the cops are going to help them. Hell, I was doing law enforcement. I'll tell you, I don't believe the cops are going to help you. They and because of that, when these people roll through, they're not going to speak up unless the world's ending for them. And right now, unless the riot's on their street, they don't care.
So,
They just, oh, we're going to stay off that street.
so
Let's take care of our own.
you say people don't believe it, but if you look into it, the Supreme Court has actually ruled that law enforcement has no obligation to protect the citizens. They have zero obligation. Supreme Court ruled on that.
Really? Is that why a lot of them are taking the protect and serve off their cars?
Yes, that's when
Yeah,
it
I
went
believe
from
that.
peace officers to law enforcement officers.
Yeah, and I believe that wholeheartedly. It just I think it's not that they they don't want change or they don't want things to be fixed. I think it really is just simple as we've beat down our population so much by the people who are supposed to look after us, right? That they don't they're more concerned with their little the microcosm of a life than their community, and that's it. I mean, look how I
But
mean,
that's what you should be worried about. You should be worried about your family and inside your home, and it should be the man's job to be worried about global politics, woman's job to be worried about the community, and the children's job to be raised and grow up and learn and graduate high school.
Well,
Go ahead,
wait, I
honey.
don't agree with that.
Eat him up. Eat him
I,
up, honey.
I don't agree with that because we've had a lot of change over the course of our country, and am I going to sit here and say that I'm okay with the women's rights and the movement on the feminist shit? No, I'm not. But you're saying that women should focus on the community, not the global aspect. Well, you want me to go vote in an election and give a good judgment and make the right choices, the smart choices, but you don't want me to be involved on a global aspect. No, I've got to be as well versed in this as you do in order to be able to go make the decisions to make the right change to put our country on track. So, no, I don't think it's just the woman's job to be involved in the community. I think that we have, to be very, very frank with you, women and men alike, we have seen a disconnect in your own communities. People aren't
oh
fighting
yeah,
for what's right in their community. They're not standing up and saying, no, we're not going to co parent with the fucking government. These are our kids. No, we're not going to do this. You're not going to take this right from us. We've sat back and allowed it to happen. And now it's turned into what it is. And we're all sitting here going, what are we going to do about it? And that's the problem. People like the four of us are sitting back allowing this shit to happen instead of fighting against these people. Now, do I know that there's a shit ton of them compared to the four of us? Yes. And we're the minority in it. And it's going to be a harder challenge. But what we need to see is the country that has pride in their country and wants to see their country thrive stand up and tell these people, we're the majority. You fuck off. Enough's enough. We don't
and
need the governor to make a choice or the president. We're the people, and we're saying we're done with this.
I think you're right though
Where
in a
does it
lot of
start?
ways. The I think it's boils down to the noisy minority versus the silent majority, and it I think it all starts at home, right? It starts with having community
There you
pride. It
go.
starts with having national pride. It starts with having the ability to agree to disagree. Because I think that if a lot of these people really gave a shit and had about their communities, they would either be go in and support, you know, law enforcement, or if nothing else, support. Hey, protest all you want, but throw a rock at a business and see what happens. Right? That
Hmm.
full fuck around and find out. But we don't have a lot of that anymore, and most of the stronger individuals in our society are shut down. If you're a strong woman, you're told that you're often a bitch and need to shut up and you're just too much ego. If you're a strong male, you're considered toxic. So there's you can't win. You can't win for losing, right?
But the people who aren't strong and that want to sit back and shut up have caused the problems we're in. They have caused it to become a toxic environment. And look where it's got us. So how long are we going to sit back and shut the hell up before we say enough's enough? For God's sakes, we are protesting, rioting, whatever you want to call it, over the fact that people have committed crimes and came into our country illegally, and we want to fight for them to stay?
Hell
What the
no.
hell have we come to?
Now I'm all for supporting the protests, only because the more stupid shit they do, that's less people trying to vote in California, carrying firearms. You know, those assholes are going to get arrested, then deported, which means there's less people taking up the line, and we might actually get something accomplished. But at the same note, I don't encourage the destruction of property. There's a point where enough is enough, and we have to. I mean, you said we're not doing anything sitting here, but I think this is where some of it starts. We have to not placate and be silent, and we have to encourage people to use their voices and share their thoughts and views and opinions. Agree to disagree if we do, but teach this generation that's out there that it's okay to speak up in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, I do see talking about it is putting it out there. It's showing people it's okay to speak your mind, to stand up and tell people when they're wrong. I do get that. But I also believe there's got to be a physical action of this too, because they're just going to continue to destroy our cities and our towns. For what? A political
You,
ploy? I mean, it's not coincidence that we'll be on midterms before we know it. It's not coincidence this is happening.
you said something very important that I was just talking to my partner with the other day, and she brought it up that no change in our country has ever come without violence, none, right? And yeah, I do agree that there's a point that things will do need to come because of the people in power who control things don't want to give it up, but there's also a way and a means to do it, I think, and it's about finding that path.
Well,
I
and
don't think
and
we're seeing what we think we're seeing. I don't think that we're seeing the total destruction, demise of towns and cities. We're seeing destruction. We are seeing businesses being broke and burned. There are people that are losing some things, the small guys. But like I said before, I think what we're seeing is a small, paid group of protesters turned rioters that are trying to change the hearts and minds of a populace behind the scenes.
I
If
can
that
see
makes
that.
sense.
I can easily see that, and find a popular place like LA to start it, where they're going to get a lot of mass media coverage and everything else, and cause enough destruction to cause a reaction, and and then encourage the ass clowns to engage in this shit in other places. Build
And
that
there's a
hearts and
reason
minds
for that
army.
too. There's a reason why it's easy to manipulate those people because they already
Cheap.
have a starch hatred for this country. A starch
well,
hatred.
and
From 20 years
I
old and on, they hate this country.
I think we're seeing, let's be real, guys. We're divided right and left. We have been for many years, but the division is at its top worst that we've ever seen it.
I
And
agree.
I, I hope if nothing more comes out of this, yes, I would like to see what I call our side, but the side of reason stand up and say, you're fucking done. We're done with this shit. We're done with you destroying our country. We're done. But if nothing else, I hope everybody sees that, not so many months ago, we were under a different leadership at the federal level, a different president. And most of the people who
I will never call them MAGA because I don't believe just because you voted for a certain person makes you in a club. But people who voted for Trump, you didn't see us out rioting and thrashing and burning down places when we didn't agree with being locked down with COVID. We didn't agree with inflation through the roof. No, we bought our time and waited for the election. But what did you see in Trump's last term? Rioting. What are you seeing now? Rioting. They're making an ass out of themselves on the left.
When Trump was first elected, uh, I can't tell you that how many people had to take mental health time off because they were so emotionally distraught. And I'm like, what in the fuck is going on with this world, right? This is not the country I fought to protect. And then when Biden won, you know what? No one took a day off work because no one's feelings were that hurt.
No, because the people of reason who didn't vote for Biden knew that it was all due process. We had an election, we went through the process, our side didn't win, and we went to work and went on with life. But you've got this, I'm sorry, I'm just going to call it like it is, this whiny ass bitch side that is like, oh, we didn't win, we didn't get what we want, we're going to cause hell in this country. And I'm over it. I'm tired of it. All the way down to our local shit. I'm tired of the schools thinking that they're my co-parent with my child. I'm done with it. You're not. The government is not here to run our day in, day out. They're not.
No, no.
Do you think that
Enough
Joe
is enough.
Biden was elected fairly? Do you think that was a fair election? That election was
Personally,
free of
I do
tampering?
not.
Well, so that's two different things, right? Was it tampered with, and then was it a just election? I mean, the finalize an election, it's the ratification in Congress, right? And because it was ratified, I think that in a shitty way justifies it. But a lot of the policies and stuff that we're dealing with now when it comes to this, and I think that's part of the fallout where a lot of it's coming from, is the last part of his term. And if he wasn't mentally sound, are his orders and edicts and policies even valid?
Is an
And
EPN
what
even
about
valid?
Well,
and what about
it's an
all
auto
the
pin.
what about all the people that testified that he was mentally sound? Are they valid?
Well,
Should they be brought
well,
up on charges?
no, that's just a medical opinion. But I'm talking about when they looked at Biden and as a president, and I think it was the FBI director at the time said
James
that
Comey?
we're not going to prosecute him because he's not mentally capable of standing trial or competent or something along those lines. That
Right.
asshole should have been removed from office then.
If you are not mentally capable of standing a trial, you are not mentally capable of running our country.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
Agreed.
Right?
Oh,
I'm sorry. And we should have had someone with a backbone, the vice president, Speaker of the
She was on
House,
her knees. Too
somebody.
bad. She was.
Yeah. Somebody should have had the backbone to stand up and say, he does not have the mental capacity to run this country. So they did the country an injustice. And personally,
Well,
I personally believe, and I know my personal beliefs are different than how the federal law works, they should be brought on charges because they have brought the country to ruins.
well, this is a good point. I mean, the the governor of California. We were just talking about this before we started this. That these guys have so much immunity in what they do that they pretty much have carte blanche to
well,
tell the
so do
world to
law
go fuck
enforcement.
off. And no,
Not really.
that law enforcement that immunity has been removed for a long time. Yeah, go look it up.
They're on pins and
it,
needles with everything they do.
yeah,
Keep going.
that's why they're doing the body cam. But I do think that there should be some immunity for judgment, right? But if there's straight neglect with like any job as a CEO, you can get fired, removed, and held accountable. It, these guys need to institute term limits. They need to be held accountable for what's going on. They they need to be able to have some way to some checks and balances in order to hold lower government officials accountable. Because right now, it I can't tell you how many lawsuits Newsom started in California because his feelings are hurt, and we're paying for that as Californians.
But where is there any accountability across any portion of government in our country? There's not.
I see it at the local
There,
level, right here in my own hometown. You can't give someone a pile of gravel from the parish without having it checked, wrote off on. You can't do the buddy deals anymore. You can go to prison for 2 yards of gravel given out of the parish if you're a opposed
so
jury
it
member.
so in your hometown, there's not a buddy system that if you have the right last name, you get by with anything.
No,
Um,
nope.
I know we see it here.
I would say there is. It's just not as prevalent or
Prevalent.
in your face.
And there's always that somewhere, but I I think it's I think that's what the intent of what Doge was supposed to do. Try to give some accountability. I don't know if that's exactly what it ended up being, but that that was kind of the intent. Where's some of this going? And the moment we start trying to get accountability, oh my God, the world's ending, and it fucked so much shit. But I don't think it was the intent.
But you know what? It comes down again to the right and the left. The left wants to make sure the right's accountable. We've seen that happen with everything that went on in New York with Trump. They wanted to hold him accountable. But the left doesn't want any accountability on them.
And this is kind of where these protests are coming from, right? We are we these ICE agents are not arresting just mom and pop, who are in the process of naturalization. These are people who are felons. These are people who've committed crime in addition to being here illegally. They're not the random kid who's just turning 18, so we're going to kick you out of the country, right? They don't have the money, they're not that petty. They need that protection, that sense of that they're trying to make their community safer, not just nickel and diming people.
Just so you know, this says no qualified immunity for law enforcement has not been removed nationwide, though some states have taken steps to limit or eliminate it. Specific contexts, the Supreme Court created a doctrine for qualified immunity, and only the Supreme Court of Congress can remove it level. Examples of states: Colorado, New Mexico, and New York City have either eliminated or limited qualified immunity in the context of state law. There's only 3 states that have almost got rid of
That's interesting. That's interesting. My understanding was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But even then, right? It you still have to. It's still not carte blanche for everything. A cop can't just walk in your house at the end of the day when they're off duty and do what they want.
That's not covered under qualified immunity, though.
Yeah.
Qualified
Newsom
immunity.
can.
Qualified immunity
But see,
is
but
what they do in their duties. That's it.
But see, Newsom during like COVID would go and had a restaurant opened when we weren't supposed to be out in public,
Right.
and he would have a banquet dinner for him and his cronies, and we're the ones who's wrong for it.
Right. And Nasty
Nancy
Pelosi,
Pelosi had a hairdresser
went and
come
got
up.
her,
Yep.
yeah, went and
Right.
got her hair done.
Because they believe they're above the law, and that is because we have allowed it to happen.
But there's
Like
We
he
have
getting
not
elected.
held them accountable.
but how do we hold them accountable, right? Because when you're talking about 2 of them that are at the highest levels. Nasty Pelosi was the Speaker of the House. The only people that can hold representatives and senators accountable is the Department of Justice. And it's
Yep.
the same for governors.
And their constituency. Y'all are forgetting about the constituency. The people in Nancy Pelosi's district love her.
Yeah, but
that's what we're missing here.
The only thing that they can do is not vote her back in. So what she does is she does.
That's a big deal.
It is, but if you get into campaigning, you do whatever you want, and then whenever it comes to the campaign, you lie to your constituents, and then they vote you in. And
But see, here's the thing, right? The way our government parties work, she can, if you have enough poll, you can actually control who you're running against. And if you don't have a running mate that makes it to the end of the election, you're not on the ballot.
Fund your own opposition is what you're saying. Fund your
Yeah.
own opposition and have them fail and know they're going to fail. Give them a big bag of money at the end of it, and everybody's happy. You're back in office.
Well, we only have the
No one's the
Democratic
wiser.
Party and the Republican, so you have to get accepted by the other.
That's not accurate. There's 7 parties, but the Democrat and the Republican are the strongest parties, right? There are other
A
ones.
proud Whig party, remember?
Well, I mean, there's the Constitutional Party, there's the Independent, there's the Tea Party.
But you have to get approved by them, and you have to.
No, you don't. You do not.
Oh God! You know what? Yes, I know. Legally, you don't.
No,
but socially,
no.
you
the
do.
only ones you have to be accepted by is the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. So whenever I put my name on the ballot, I had to go. I was like, they were like, "What party?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I want to be an independent." And they were like, "Well, you got to have 100,000 signatures just to put an I next to your name." So that's going out into your fucking area, sitting at Walmart, getting 100,000 signatures. Or I go up to the Republican Party, give them $350. They write me a receipt. I go back to the freaking Capitol and say, "Here's my receipt for joining the Republican Party." And they go, "Oh, okay, there's an R next to your name."
Yep.
Yeah, but let's be real. In the day we're in, anybody but a Democrat or Republican's not going to get in.
No.
The parties are too strong.
I was absolutely agreeing with that. And then whenever it comes to the primaries, what Kevin was talking about, it does happen, but you've got to remember, like, incumbents, right? So I didn't run for state office until our incumbent got out, because I knew that he had so much power. He was loved by so many that even if I ran against him and run him through the fucking ringer, right, said all the things he did wrong, then he still would have got in. So it's when you have an incumbent, if you have to spend 3 times as much money as your incumbent does just to have your name put out there, and then people start paying attention to you, so then you can maybe have a chance. And then you get into. Go ahead.
Is it fair to say that the elected officials are a direct representation of the people that elect them? Like, their values somewhat leak up? I get that sometimes it seems like it doesn't, but
at least not in California.
It does at all.
I think it depends. In California, I don't say it does, because California, the way they draw the
party
lines out here,
congressional districts,
or the
thank you, the district lines, all the powers in Southern California. So even though the majority of California, even in numbers, right, we predominantly are red, where all the electoral votes are, they're all down south. And
those district lines get redrawn every 7 years.
Yes. Ours just did 4 years ago.
We vote to redraw them.
But then it's your House and Senate, your state House and Senate, that decide where your lines are drawn. So we've got 8 or 9 districts, and then they get to go, okay, well, this is a very conservative area, so let's make our Democratic line stop here so that just the Democrats control Kansas City and just the Democrats control St. Louis. Everything else is done by population.
I wonder how much of these riots would stop. I wonder how much of these riots would actually stop. Maybe not the protests, but the riots would stop. Sure. If with today's technology, we got rid of the 2-party system and went to a 1-for-1 vote.
No. That would be only the people in the big cities would have a vote. Us out here in the rural, we wouldn't have a vote.
Well, hang on.
We wouldn't have a voice.
Hang on. Are you
talking? But technology's changed.
Wait, you're not talking about removing the Electoral College, are you?
Not necessarily.
Because.
But I'm not talking about the Electoral College to ratify the vote. I'm talking about getting rid of the parties, the party system, and
doing a true democracy.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on this, where, so if I didn't toe the party line, right, with the Republican Party, they wouldn't have supported me. So you have to toe party lines, and I can differ from some of the opinions of the Republican Party, and they're going to be like, "Yep, nope, we don't support you." So by getting rid of the Democrat, the Republican, the T, all of these parties, and you just say, "This is what I stand on. This is what you stand on. Now y'all choose who you want to fucking represent you in office. Not a Democrat, not a Republican, not an independent, but this person." And still
It's
have
the
it
voting
electoral
thing.
college and still have all of that.
I think that you would
I agree with
see
that.
a huge shift and a huge change in the country and the way we operate, because I think a lot of people don't do their research on their candidates and see what they actually believe in. They go in and mark a box based on an R and a D.
Especially the
See, I think
older
that-
crowd. The older crowd.
The older
doesn't
crowd,
feel
yeah,
that.
but the newer generation is all about looking people up. And yeah, you're gonna have there's all sorts of pros and cons, but I really do think that if we got rid of that party system, it would drastically change the way we look at politics and the way we look at our policies. And we're not gonna look at this as much as a left and right issue. It's these ass clowns over here versus these ass clowns over here. And it I think would drastically change because there would be a lot more streamlined views or community streamlined views, more aligned with the communities that elect them.
I'm
Do you want a community out of Compton electing your officials? Would their views
Yes,
be close to your
absolutely.
views?
You know what? You'd be surprised how many of those people want their community to be better. They want their community to have good places for their kids, provide a future for their kids. A lot of people in those bad communities are doing what they have to get by, but that doesn't mean they don't want to see change for the better.
Okay, so
At
this
least
is
that's their kind of like the storyline view of it.
yeah, you're absolutely right, and this is where the party lines start happening, right? Like we can remove party lines, and then it's just going to happen again, because they're going to say this person does this, and then let's say Dustin is the first person to fucking run on these politics, then it's no longer going to be I'm Republican, it's going to be I'm Dustin, right? So I'm like Dustin. Well, I'm like Kevin. Well, now your party lines have been created, and this is the Kevin party, and this is the Dustin party, and now
there's
these
always
people.
It's the same thing.
Right? It's the same thing.
You just created the same thing.
But what happens is,
Democrat, Republican, it's a brand.
yeah. But
Which
what
brand are you with?
what
Well,
you're
I think
saying
the
though,
only way-
Kevin? I'm sorry, honey. What you're saying though, Kevin,
No.
is these people want change and they want their lives to be better, but most of the time, whenever they vote for Democrats, they're voting for a handout. And that has
Grievance
been,
voting.
yeah, it's absolutely. Oh, well, they're gonna make sure that I have a cell phone. They're gonna make
It's
sure
what
that that my Medicare doesn't get cut off, right? They're gonna make sure my
It's what-
light bill doesn't get cut off.
It's what is my country going to do for me instead of what can I do for my country.
But see, the way I'm looking at it is that if Dustin and I are going together, right, and they don't like me at all, but Dustin and I are both Democrats, right, and well, Dustin's a Democrat, and there's Big D by his name, so I'm going to vote for him, and well, fuck, I guess I'll vote for Kevin because he's also a Democrat because I don't
And I
like,
know
I'm not going to
nothing
vote
about him,
Republican. Yeah. So if we get rid of some of that shit, even if it was maybe just off the ballot, we get rid of a lot of that crap.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't
In
know how
theory,
practical it is, but
right. In theory, it sounds good, but in practicality, it just doesn't work. Because
I
they've
disagree
tried it
with you.
before.
I think the only thing going to fix it is term limits. We have term limits on our president. Why don't we have term limits on everything else?
Well, hey guys, everybody that's been watching, just know that now, thank you for hanging out. Now we're going over to locals. We're going to have a little 15-second break so you guys can make your way that way. Thank you for showing up for the Life Liberty Show.
Drag them and they'll follow you until the day you die. I tell myself I've dealt this before. It's hard to get a handle on you. So just take another message to the people who know. The talk is growing old, and so am I. It's so wide, it's so